Team software can help your company profit from efficiency. For 26 years, Team has been helping building service contractors grow while remaining profitable. Our integrated financial, operations, and workforce management solutions include everything you need to manage your business. Programs included are mobile, telephone, and biometric timekeeping, work scheduling, inventory, quality assurance, accounting, payroll, human resources, Affordable Care Act compliance, budgeting, job costing, and financial statements. Team Software values its customers. Every year, we host Team Client Conference in Omaha, Nebraska. This conference focuses on helping our customers fully leverage their Team software solutions while providing valuable networking opportunities with industry peers. We invite all Team customers to join us for this exciting event in April. For more details, please visit teamsoftware.com.
Welcome to our Cleancast today. Thanks for joining us. I came across a very interesting article by Ryan Jenkins recently, and it was 5 reasons millennials aren't answering your calls. You know that group born in the 80s? That's mere millennials. They're not answering your calls. Here's some of the reasons. I thought, and so that I don't leave any out, I'm going to just highlight some of them and read them to you. The one of the reasons, it can be distracting. They said calls can sever focus, disrupt workflow, and draw people away from crucial projects that they're currently working on. Texting allows users to respond at a convenient time between tasks. You're probably going to get the gist here that they're talking about we should text more than call. That's number 1, it's distracting. Number 2, presumptuous. They say calls presume that the person you are calling should drop everything and adhere to your agenda. Texting, like email, is passive communication that doesn't presume a real-time interaction. Think about that. Have you ever thought about that? When you call someone, it's presuming that you are calling, that the person you're calling should drop everything to talk to you. The next one was superfluous. Calls give the perception of more airtime, so callers can neglect to gather the necessary information up front and will talk out loud until they land on the intended message. Texting forces you to put your thought into words, which can be edited or condensed, and allows you to communicate the essential information for maximum efficiency. And I can second that one. I get some text messages that, how should I want to say this? You got to read between the lines to figure out what the lines are saying. The fourth one was ineffective. It says missed calls result in phone tag. According to millennials, a supremely idiotic and unnecessary game in an age of bountiful communication alternatives. Interesting, isn't it? Missed calls result in a phone tag. And how many times those of you that are older like me, how many times have you called people and you just never get a call back? It's a supremely idiotic and unnecessary game in an age of bountiful communication alternatives. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, an email worth 500? Texting is effective and efficient. 90% of all text messages, get this, 90% of all text messages are read within 3 minutes. Can you say that about your phone calls? That 90% of your phone call messages that you leave and say, hey, this is Joe, can you give me a call? Are they answered within 3 minutes? 3 days, maybe? 3 hours? Then number 5 was time consuming. It says the time costs of a quick 5-minute call can exceed 20 minutes, including the salutations, the pleasantries, the small talk, the goodbyes, the time it takes to refocus on the original task, which, excuse me, some experts say can take 23 minutes after a disruption. Texting limits unnecessary salutations and the exchange of irrelevant information, and the time cost can be as low as a few seconds. How about that? And it goes on to tell a story about a company who had a gentleman who had an entire organization of millennials. And he couldn't get anywhere by calling them and getting them to return the call. So he asked them, how can I get you to communicate? And they said, text me. So he now texts his team every afternoon before they commute home. In the message, he provides the necessary correction or direction his team needs to be more efficient and effective. He said, after my texts, it surprises me how often I find my team that evening back online, eagerly working. Is a phone call still valuable? He says, of course it is. A phone call can still be necessary, it can be welcomed, and in some instances productive. The tone or urgency that can be conveyed in a human voice remains powerful. But if you're interested in elevating the productivity of your millennial workforce, consider texting. You know, it brought to mind back in the 90s, I was part owner of a company that my partners lived in Europe, and we would exchange a lot of text messages, or mostly email messages back then, because there wasn't a lot of texting going on at that point. So there were a lot of emails. And I can remember one of my business partners in the UK saying to me on several occasions, Dick, golly, I wish I was there to get your body language on this text message that I'm writing you, or excuse me, on this email I'm writing you, or this email you're writing me. I don't remember how many times he did that. I don't know how many times he picked up the phone to call, did you get my text message? I keep saying text message. Did you get my email? And I would say yes, and he said, golly, I wish I was sitting there to watch your expressions now, or to see your expressions reading. Because this guy had a particular knack for writing rude emails. And he was the best at it. And he taught me how to write them too. So there were times that it was best that we had a phone conversation to discuss, and then of course 4 times a year they came over and spent a week at a board meeting. Anyway, so this is kind of this was a really interesting to me, something I probably hadn't thought a lot about, and maybe you have or haven't. How about texting? You know, the younger generation, I can remember driving down the highway and having 2 of my granddaughters in the back texting away, and I'd say, Heather, who are you talking to? Well, Rebecca, she's sitting right next to you. Yeah, I know, but we're texting. I always thought that if you had somebody sitting next to you, you probably would just talk to them. But nevertheless, this is something for you to keep in mind. Maybe you need to do more texting. I sometimes feel that with our texting, we're generating we're getting a whole new generation of people who don't communicate well. If you're getting texts or sending texts the way I'm getting some of them, with misspelled words, abbreviations and things, but it gets the job done. And that's mainly what this article was about. If you really want to communicate with the millenniums, start communicating the way they want to receive the communication. Just some food for you to think about. Text me if you'd like any more information on this article. Thanks for watching us today. See you next time.